My name is Jindai. I'm from Harlem, New York. Raised by two radical revolutionary artists and educators, and I myself am an artist. I write, I sing, and I produce all my own stuff.
So, can you tell people a little bit about your style of music and how would you describe it?
When I write, my music is definitely a mixture between R&B and pop, and it's definitely alternative. But when I write, I don't necessarily think in terms of genre and format. If I'm describing my style, I really think about growing up walking from east to west on 116th Street, where you would hear soca, salsa, merengue, West African music, dance hall, Hot 97. All of that stuff is deeply in my DNA. Growing up listening to like the first couple Destiny Child albums, Brandy, Baduism really possessed me. And then as I got older, I started to listen to more folk and electronic music like The Knife and like Bjork. So that's all there too. I'm definitely attracted to synthesizer and electronic sounds. And I'm super into Star Trek. So my hope is to make this kind of like multicultural music that you could maybe one day bump in your holodeck. That's the hope.
Cool, cool. It's coming. Now, let's talk a little bit about the landscape in music now. It's very eclectic. There's a lot of different styles that are being floated, like between, say, Beyonce, you mentioned Destiny's Child, SZA, um, Afropunk, and then there's always hip hop too. Would you say you fit in? Or do you fit in?
I'm not sure if I do fit in. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an outsider. Like you said, there are lots of people trying to incorporate all these different types of genres, and it's really cool and it's an exciting thing to be a part of. I don't really try to think about what sets me apart from other people, and I don't really concern myself with where I fit in. I kind of just write based on what's going on with me at the moment, as a product of New York, as a child of the world, and I hope that the world connects with that in turn.
So talk about Harlem a little bit. How has that played a role in your rearing and your taste in music and art?
It's definitely played a role in making, like, I'm not an overly political person, but politics definitely comes out just from being a citizen of Harlem, and politics is in the body. Being in this body as a black woman with roots in the South and in the West Indies and in Cuba, you become very aware of the danger of being used as a symbol or as property or as a tool. Um, and so that kind of informs. I write a lot about pain and alienation, and those I think are universal themes, and everyone can relate to those things. But I feel it acutely as a black woman who has grown up in Harlem with this sense of community.
Okay. So let's talk about your music a little bit. So we have a few songs that are out in the world, so to speak.
Hmm.
Can you talk about Wait,
Wait.
which I listened to the other day, and
Yeah.
I saw you got a lot of views on that one too.
Oh, yeah. I hope it's a lot. Um, so, yeah, Wait is the first single that I released. It's the first music video. I think it's a good example of what I try to do in all my work, in that it works a lot in contrast. Like, they are very poppy, feel good vibes, and hopefully melodies that kind of, you remember. But if you really listen to the lyrics, it's about just the depths and the pain of human existence and loneliness and, some kind of really, I think, important things to human nature. And so in that way, I'm exploring bringing together the happy and the sad. I'm exploring the yin and yang in my music because yin and yang, I feel like, is what all of life is about.
And the visuals are pretty interesting too. Can you describe that to people and what inspired it to be that way? The artistic vibe and I think there's a clown, like not a clown, but like a mime or
Yeah, he's supposed to be a doll, and
okay.
so yeah, the themes visually are supposed to be. We're very much trying to place you in Fantasyland, um, because we're exploring the idea of what it means to be. What's the difference between real and fake? What it means to be a person as opposed to something that's not living, and the idea that our perceptions inform a lot of our reality, and how we perceive things and our emotions about things become what they are. And so is this the truth, what I'm feeling, or is it a construction? Is it as constructed as a doll would be, for example?
Okay. And so let's talk about the song you're going to debut with us, the Insect song. That's one that hasn't quite come out. I mean, some of us have seen it.
Yeah.
But talk about that, the meaning behind that song.
So Insect Song is about how people often try to hide their baser, messier, dirtier parts in order to seem greater and more important than they are. Where I think that we can all be as strange and as small as insects are sometimes. And I think that we should embrace that. I think that we should embrace the insect in all of us. And if you read or listen to the lyrics, there are also some sexual undertones, which I think is appropriate because sexuality is an aspect, is something that stems from our animal nature. And yet we try to class it up or not to talk about it because we want to seem, perfect. And it's all about being strange and gross and flawed and sexy at the same time. Because I think we can be all those things and we should embrace that.
Okay. So let's talk about the family aspect of your project. Everyone's involved, and how has that influenced the direction of your career, if it has at all?
Well, definitely it's influenced me. My parents are, very active politically. My mom was this amazing dancer and actress and model. She was in the original cast of Hair on Broadway. She was the first black woman on the cover of 17 magazine, and as a model back then, refused to wear wigs. She would always have her afro to let people know that black is beautiful and to embrace who we are as people. And my dad was in the Black Panther Party. He was in the arrested in the Panther 21, spent a total of 9.5 years in prison, and then came out and became an educator and a filmmaker. So that is definitely part of what I carry. And where I get that idea that it's important to embrace exactly who you are, no matter what it's popular to embrace or look like or to be.
And has that affected you on the artist? I mean, it can't. I know said you're not overly political, but on the artistic side, how has it affected you or influenced you?
Well, my parents have influenced me in making sure that I know that art can express something important and something real, and it can be the vehicle by which we create political change. So this song is going to be on my EP that's coming out later this summer. It's called Blue Baby. I was born in jelly bean, sticky and baby blue. Guess that means I couldn't breathe until I had to. Mama said open wide, take in the open sky. Said I was meant to fly. When I look up at the sun, the rays, they burn my peerless eyes. So I'm still looking for my angel wings, or am I doomed to live in this mundanity? I'm still stumbling on silly things like where I'm meant to go and who I'm supposed to be. The way I run, the way I run is standing still with someone. So I don't need nobody else. I don't even need myself. 'Cause the way I love puts me undone. So I don't need nobody else on my way, floating down to hell the way I run. That's a little snippet.
Thanks. Awesome. So what's your writing process?
My writing process, I usually start with the track. So I'll lay down a drum beat, maybe, with my synthesizer, my laptop, and I'll, write some vocal melodies on the keyboard. And then after that, that definitely has like a life of its own meter and rhythm. And I'll try to lay the vocal melody in between that, and try to make it glide through and counterbalance as best I can. Then it would be the lyrics, and try to make that kind of fit in. But also what's important with my lyrics is that they can stand on their own as poetry if even read on the page. And And then, yeah, so that's the full song. It's the track, the vocals, and the lyrics. But one part that I really consider to be a big part of my music is my dance. And so you'll see in both my music videos, there's a lot of dancing, because I feel like a popular theme with all my work is embodiment and body movement, body sounds. And I try to look at all those ways in which the different rhythms are working together, are dependent, but also independent from each other. And so by dancing, I explore those rhythms and I embody the music that kind of embodies who I am as an artist. And that also goes back to another thing I work with a lot, the yin and yang, that exploration of the point at which independence and dependence converge, is also an exploration in yin and yang, in convergence and separation.
You're smart.
Thank you.
Can you talk about your educational background? Are you comfortable with that, or?
Sure. I mean, I grew up going to public schools in Harlem. For high school, I switched to private school, which was a bit of a culture shock. For college, I went to Columbia University, majored in philosophy, to my benefit and also to my chagrin. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of New York. Staying in New York, though, my whole life, it's been fun.
Okay. So what do you aspire to do as an entertainer? Overall, I mean, you're just pretty much starting now. So where would you like to see yourself in, a year, 5 years, 10?
My basic goal is the same for a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's just to be connecting with people. I grew up not really feeling like I belonged anywhere socially, always feeling weird. And music, I think, taught me that there's a place where other people feel weird and can come to express themselves. So what's important to me about my music is that it propels and continues the conversation between those of us who feel like we're on the outside.
So yeah, talk a little bit about your background in the arts.
So growing up, I always kind of sang absent-mindedly, but I started singing a little bit more and a little bit more seriously in this program called Impact, which is a nonprofit organization that teaches kids leadership training through the arts, through music and dance and acting and poetry and all this great stuff. So it was really a good place for me to explore my identity as an artist. I also took piano lessons growing up, which I then transitioned into using the synthesizer to synthesize any instrument. And I took ballet classes growing up. I want to say my parents have been super helpful in pushing my art and teaching me that art can have a message. And then also my brother, Jad Joseph, we're all J's, has a very good ear and has helped kind of guide and hone my sound, and helps with and mixes all my stuff. So it's really cool to keep it all in the family and to all be able to do this together.